businesses that are actually going to drive profitability and going to drive growth are going to be the ones that embrace AI or AGI into their infrastructure. You've got to understand the context that AI is here to stay. It is not just about saving you some time in the tasks that you're doing. Go through a culture of embedding one tool at a time based on the problems that you're seeing. It's going to be very, very difficult in the future to be able to determine whether you're speaking with a real life human being or whether you're speaking with an AI agent.
Steve Pailthorpe, I must receive 10 per week emails, direct messages. The latest, greatest AI software is here and it can make a huge impact. Where do we pay attention to in this noisy world of AI software, tools, what to use?
You're absolutely right, James. Every single day in my inbox, I am being notified about the next best thing that's hit the market to solve a task in business, whether that is cleansing my emails, whether that is distributing press releases, whether it is tools to understand my audience on social media, or even analytic stuff to process data. We are bombarded by loads of evolutions. And this is absolutely right. We're at the cusp of the biggest technology shift that we've seen since the Industrial Revolution. And the pace of change that we're currently in right now means that the early adopters are going to be the people that win. So how do we understand the best tools and embrace them within our companies? I think that's the first question we need to ask. And the truth is, we've got to have a culture of measuring and testing. So one of the things that I do in my businesses every single week, every Friday, is we have our ideas factory, where every single member of the team brings something to the table that they're learning through AI, that they've tried, that they've tested. So developing that culture of learning within your business is really, really important. But here's the caveat to that rule. If you try and embrace too much within your technical infrastructure within your business, then very quickly you're going to dilute your effectiveness. So I would choose a couple of really good tools, understand the areas that you can get really good efficiency and embrace the power of what agentic AI is capable of. So the difference here between task-based AI that just does one thing and agentic AI that performs a series of tasks consistently and automatically. That's where AI is going to add the most value in the next year or two.
Yeah, I've just made a note of that actually. First and foremost, have a culture of measuring and testing. Secondly, choose a couple of really good tools. Now, I'm going to pluck your brain. I'm going to challenge you to give me the top 10 tools in the marketplace that I should be aware of or paying attention to in a second. But then the third point is this agentic AI. You know, getting agents to not do one task, but a series of tasks in a row for you, which feels like a dream, really. It's like...
Let's break this down into a real world context. So if you're using AI or an LLM, a large language model, things like ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, if you're using something like that to produce a blog post and you want to write a blog post and get it onto your site every single week, most people are using some sort of LLM to help them draft that content. Where most people get it wrong is they're not working with that LLM to actually get the right possible output. And that's because they haven't used our create prompt formula. They haven't defined the character of what the AI is going to do. So they're taking the information that GPT or Claude or Copilot puts out and they're stripping it out and then putting it on their website. Now there's still human intervention in there and that's still a manual task. Agentic AI or AGI is now the process where we've got multiple different types of tasks being done by bots in a sequence that enables the whole thing to operate without any interaction from a human. or it could just be an approval from a human. Okay, so ultimately an AI could raise a ticket with me to say, here's a blog post, can you approve it so I can put it on your site? I tick a box that says yes, it's good, and then the next thing I know, it's live on my website. So it's combining multiple different systems together to achieve efficiency, growth, and productivity changes within a business context.
Do you know what? Some CRMs on marketing and sales, they've had that level of AI sophistication for years, haven't they? You've been able to sort of build a marketing campaign, and once you've done this and they've emailed back, do that. But it was all built into one software, one CRM. I suppose the difference now is there's multiple systems, but there's also sort of multiple areas of business that's all being connected at once as well. So,
and this is the power of it, right? Your board pack that previously took you 2 days to produce is now going to be done in 30 minutes. Your marketing function that was producing social media posts, blog posts, press releases that previously took days is now going to take 20 minutes. So the time efficiency that we're getting through the use of AI is phenomenal. But unless we do something to automate those journeys and to make sure that they're happening autonomously, then all we're doing is touching the very surface of this. Businesses that are actually going to drive profitability and going to drive growth are going to be the ones that embrace AI or AGI into their infrastructure, not just using it as a tool that sits as a task manager.
So when we say infrastructure, we mean literally systemize it within their business.
That's it. It's
within every role in the business.
It's about running AI throughout the entire systems, whether that's operations, customer service, sales, marketing, finance. It's getting it embedded and operating at every layer of the tech stack within the business.
Okay, I want to plug your brains on this. You're at the forefront of this, so I'm going to challenge you for the top 10 tools, AI tools, in the marketplace right now that I, as a business owner, leader, or manager, need to be aware of, and maybe identify a couple that are really good tools for me. Now, I think everybody's going to know one of the tools that you're going to share, but top 10.
Yeah, great. Well, let's start there, shall we? Because everyone, when you talk about AI, talks about ChatGPT and the open AI, okay? So let's...
Is that number one on your list, is it?
Let's not call it OpenAI or ChatGPT. Let's call it large language model, okay? LLM, because that's what ChatGPT is. It's a large language model. And there are many different LLMs that are out there. Of course, we've mentioned a couple of them already. So we've got Microsoft Copilot. We've got Claude. We've even got things like Grok, which of course is embedded within X and formerly Twitter. You know, you've got all of those different tools that are effectively doing very similar things. They're large language models, so they're all about predictive text outputs for a functional input. Now, if you don't yet know how to brief your AI assistant using an LLM, go and check out one of our videos where we've given a prompt formula, which I call Create, which is all about getting the best output. So certainly ChatGPT is probably certainly the best known, and because of the biggest investment that is put in, is one that is moving at the fastest pace at the moment.
Best known and probably most used, certainly from a subjective cognitive bias perspective, it's certainly the one that I see is most used. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got ChatGPT as one of them, an LLM, but you've also mentioned Copilot, you mentioned Grok in there. Are they still on the top 10 list, or are they part of that first one?
No, I'm grouping things together because if you were to ask me what's the best LLM that I should be using in my business, I'm going to say to you that it's probably going to be ChatGPT. And that's purely because it has the biggest community of users and therefore the biggest investment in costs that is going into the OpenAI. Therefore, the development of that platform is moving at a much more significant pace than a lot of the others. Okay? So when we think about what does an LLM do, because this is what we're trying to get under the hood of, what are we using ChatGPT for? Well, it can be used to draft emails. It can be used to analyze reports. If you've got a 20-page document that you want to have summarized, you can put that document in there and it can then provide you a short summary of what's within there. You can frame it for different personas. So if you're wanting to write an email back to a customer with a customer experience perspective, then you could do that as well. One of the ways that I use it is I take my Read Assistant that comes into my meetings and I export all of the transcripts of all of the meetings that I have, and I have it done automatically. This is the AGI components that then feeds in to my ChatGPT account. And using that information, I will then create a channel or a project for each client that I'm working on. And that way I can then embed files into each project. I can embed tone of voice information into that project. I could even go down to the nth degree of saying, what's the disc personality profile of the individuals that I'm talking to? So we can really go to a deeper level here in our communication style and in the context of what we're wanting to put together. So remember, GBT can do multiple different outputs. We can do images with GBT, of course, we can do reports. Any LLM text-based outcome can be delivered through LLMs. And we've really got to get this entrenched within our businesses as fast as we can.
Yeah, so the take-home message is using LLM. I suppose Grok, when I compare that to ChatGPT, Grok's pretty intense. It's pretty ferocious. It doesn't hold back. I mean, it is brutal. It'll tell you the bad stuff. It'll say, you are speaking nonsense.
Well, this is Elon at his best, isn't it? And Grok obviously is part of Elon's arsenal, and it's doing exactly what it was intended to, and it is really one of the very, very best solutions that are on the market as an LLM. But the very fact that it's integrated into the social platforms means that it gives a much better and faster way of processing information.
Okay, so number one is the LLM that you choose to use. What's number two on the list?
Number two, in my view, has got to be Google's Gemini. And this is something that people are not really aware of that even exists. Okay, many of us have grown up, all of us, in fact, have grown up using Google to some degree. And of course, 20 years ago, the keyword journey started of you putting something into search engines. That has then evolved over years with a stack of Google's different applications, and indeed the Chrome app and the various other tools that Google has put to market, all of which have been thought leading. Here's the thing. Google's market share of the global search world in the last 6 months alone has fallen from 24% to now 18.5%. Now that might sound like a small drop, but when you consider the billions of searches that are going on, it is a huge volume of people that are searching that are no longer searching within Google. Where are they searching? Well, they're searching with another LLM like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So using search, and our search behavior has changed. Now, I work in the world of digital marketing, as you know, and I talk a lot about search engine optimization and what people call SEO. These days, I'm not calling it search engine optimization. I've changed my language. I'm talking about search everywhere optimization. Still SEO, still the same thing, but changed in the context, because these days less and less traffic is coming to us from Google than it is from other LLM sources like ChatGPT. Now, does that mean that we should suddenly throw Google out and throw the baby out with the bathwater? Absolutely not. Google is still very much positioned, and has been for years, the leader within this field. And so Google's Gemini, which is the AI that sits underneath the whole of the Google stack, is still one of the very best in the world, and it's the most underutilized. So how do you use it effectively? Well, it's all in for search, it's product placement, if you're wanting descriptions for your products, if you're wanting it to narrate things for what other people are putting on the internet and compare that and contrast it, Google Gemini is going to do a way better job at that than things like ChatGPT.
Yeah, where do people go to get it? I mean, do you just go into Google and ask for an AI search or what?
Exactly. So this idea of AI search is just trying to change the graphical interface that Google was previously given, because people haven't put two and two together that there's actually a powerful LLM that sits behind Google. So when you just click that AI search function, you're
in a conversation. It's like being in conversation with ChatGPT.
It is, and it has been running that way for over 18 months now. It's just we're not aware of it because we've have this idea that when I use Google, I search with a keyword.
I think it says AI mode on there at the top.
That's right.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so we've got ChatGPT, we've got Google Gemini coming in as another tool. Well, what's number 3 on the list?
Well, I think the next thing that particularly for businesses and anyone within the creative space needs to know is about how do you generate images? Because we've all seen the horror stories, haven't we? Particularly when people have used ChatGPT to try and create images. We've seen suddenly an extra hand come into the image, or I took an image the other day of a friend of mine, a friend of mine playing rugby, and he suddenly had a third leg. You know, so horror stories like that. And we've
some dodgy dad jokes on that one, isn't there?
We've talked before about how image processing happens, and certainly with facial recognition and the way tools on the market break up an image into the individual pixel components to try and then recreate and generate those things. Now, ChatGPT is getting better. Let me just say that because a caveat. All of the LLMs are getting better, and this is only going to grow and develop over the coming 2 years. So I'm not saying don't use an LLM to generate your image, but what I am saying is that there is a better LLM that you should probably be using for image generation. And here's what it is. It is Midjourney. Okay, Midjourney. Now, Midjourney is different because you can set up the color structure of your brand. You can give it textual-based briefings. So here's what I would do. If I'm wanting to create images, for example, for social media posts, I would go into my ChatGPT account and I would ask it to give me a post, an emoji, and then a summary paragraph for the image. Now, within that image, I could use the focus type, the lens type, the colors. What's in the image? Is it an image of a podcast room with two people sat down talking across the way from each other, or does it have a logo in the background? You know, there's so many different other things that we can include. So get ChatGPT to generate that image prompt and literally copy and paste it into Midjourney. The outputs that you're going to get from Midjourney are royalty free. Okay, so they're totally able to be used in any context online. And the quality of the output is way better than any of the other LLMs that I'm seeing at the moment.
As in graphics, as in resolution, as in the outcome that you want?
The outcome that you want from your image is substantially better with Midjourney than any of the others that I've seen. So it's not only just quality, we're talking about the brief that you've put in. So if you're asking for two people sat in a room speaking in microphones opposite each other, ChatGPT will give you some dodgy animation. Midjourney will generate a really, really good real-life looking image, which from a marketing and business perspective is so much better than what comes from the other LLMs.
Really good point. All right, we've got 3. ChatGPT, or LLMs at first, Google Gemini, then we've got Midjourney for images. What's number 4 on the list?
We have, let's just add another one on, because when we talk about image generation, there's things like Canva as well. And I'm sure many of our listeners today would have been used to going into Canva to do graphic design elements. What's the difference between something like Canva and Midjourney, right? Canva is very much a graphic design editing tool. And of course, we could talk about Adobe's infrastructure within there, all very, very similar. But in terms of automatically generating images with AI, Midjourney is my leader. So the next one that I like to use is Veed.io, and it's probably one of the most unheard of AIs that are out there.
How do you spell it?
Veed, Veed.io. And here's why I like Veed. Okay, so Veed is all about creation of video content, but it also does transcribing. It will create text to image production of different things. So here's how I use it. As I'm scrolling through my TikTok reels or my Instagram reels or whatever on my For You page, I'll come across stuff that I like. I literally just take the link from that and I copy and I paste it into Veed.io. Veed.io then creates a transcript of whatever's there, and it will then generate me a similar script that's not the same. So we're not talking about plagiarism here, we're talking about content curation. So I'm using it as a means to get information from lots of different sources and plugging that into Veed.io. Now, I don't go ahead and generate videos with Veed.io. It can do that, but I'm going to tell you another tool for video creation in a moment. But here's one of the things that I think is most profound. It's going to give you the step-by-step journey with all of your hooks, all of the different points that you need to make, and it's going to create videos that are powerful. So if you want to become the next big social media influencer, go and use Veed.io. If you want to start curating content from different thought leaders across the world and put that into one place and get something working for you that's powerful like an LLM, then VIO will do it. The great thing is you can then plug it back into ChatGPT and create this whole system where it's sharing information. So really, really powerful.
All right, so far so good. I think every listener is going to be going off and doing that in some way, shape or form, either themselves or their marketing teams. What's number 5 on the list?
Well, let's talk about video production, because how do you even know that this podcast you're listening to right now is the real Steve Pailthorpe and the real James Vincent? It's difficult to tell, isn't it? Because these days we're moving towards AI video content. And there is a really, really important point about security. I'm just going to throw this in before I give you the tool. In my home right now, obviously I'm publishing so much content on AI and marketing and business. There's so many videos of me speaking. And so the ability for AI to construct an accurate replication of my voice and to create an accurate replication of my face, make me move, make me speak, all of that can be done really, really easily. And so quick point of reference, if you are someone that is a face of a brand, or even if you're just communicating something online, really, really important to make sure that you and your family know that there is a protocol that you follow internally in your house for when something happens. I'll give you a really practical example. In our home, we have a code word. My kids know that if they get an instruction over the phone, or if they get someone come up to them to pick them up from school who says, your dad sent me to do this, they know that they're going to ask the code word. Well, what's daddy's code word? And they know that that code word isn't shared with anyone else. And if that person can't provide the code word, they're not going to follow that advice. Now, I've trained and I've educated my children that way because I've seen it in real life situations that I've had to consult in, also within my own family, where there have been people that have tried to breach the borders and use AI in a negative way. You know, people were using it to defraud people all the time. We're seeing the rise of AI agents that can call 20,000 people every minute. And believe it or not, those things are no longer the call that you get that says, have you been involved in a car crash? These are smart thinking and audio quality that sounds like a human, and it's going to be very, very difficult in the future to be able to determine whether you're speaking with a real life human being or whether you're speaking with an AI agent. So, quick note of caution, if you're someone in media, do that. So what's my next tool for video production? Because it is possible to take your face and put you onto a video platform. There's 2 tools that I would use. The first one is called HeyGen. And HeyGen's really cool because you can upload an image of yourself talking just a simple script, and it will then reconstruct your voice, it will reconstruct your video, and then you could put text to speech into that tool, and HeyGen will then create a moving image of your face. Now, it's not always the best accuracy, it's getting better, but if you're wanting to do stuff that is putting your brand into other contexts, brilliant. I know a lot of leaders that I'm working with at the moment are using platforms like HeyGen where they're wanting to speak in a different language that they can't yet speak. Yeah. So because it will suddenly speak in Italian or French or Latin if you even want it to. It knows all of that, and it's using your sound, your voice. And this is a really profound way to actually take an AI avatar of your face and animate it. Yeah. But that's not the tool I would use. The one that I would use is Synthesia. Synthesia, in my opinion, is probably the most powerful video editor for automatic creation of images and videos in the world at the moment. It does everything from gesticulation using our hands. It will change facial expressions. It will enable you to create fabulous video content from start to finish. Now, here's a real use case study. A few months ago, I challenged myself to create a disruptive business solely through AI. It was called iCheck, and I took it to task to basically go and strip the internet of every restaurant in the United Kingdom, some 96,000 restaurants, and I automatically grabbed that data with AI. I created a website with AI, created a brand with AI, and then created marketing videos using Synthesia. Now, that had a beautiful girl presenting on the camera, sounding beautiful British English. It was perfect. I mean, you would never know that that was an AI avatar. So for the production of videos where you need to have something that is direct to camera, that can have multiple different background settings, you can change it, make it any way you want, Synthesia is the single most powerful tool for the generation of videos.
Wow. Sounds like we want to be paying attention. All right, so we've got LLMs, Google Gemini, images using Midjourney, Veed.io for creative videos, and then another video one, Synthesia, for actually making AI versions of your business or whatever it is in video format. What's number 6?
Well, remember, Veed.io feeds into Synthesia. So you've got all of your different elements that you're stripping things from social media. You're plugging those YouTube clips, your YouTube shorts, your TikToks, you're putting those all into Veed.io. Then you're taking that information out of Veed.io, putting it into Synthesia to generate your videos. Okay, so that's the link between those two tools. The next thing is, I think we've got to talk about PowerPoint, because PowerPoint, right? PowerPoint takes business owners so long. We all have to use it. We're all doing presentations. And the tool that I am using within my business to produce some of the best PowerPoints I've ever created is Gamma.app. Okay, Gamma, Gamma, is brilliant for the production of PowerPoints and presentations. Here's the reason I like it. Most of the ones that are out there, you can produce, obviously, presentations with other LLMs. But the reason I like Gamma is because you can prompt the individual slides that you want for your presentation, and it will then give you everything in the context that you want it. So you can set up templates. If you want your brand in the bottom right hand corner, you want stylization within the different slides, it will do all of that for you. Now, a professional presentation with 50 slides that would have typically taken me half a day to produce, I can now have done within 30 seconds.
You've got to give it instructions though.
Of course, that's where you prompt. And so the prompting that we use for other LLMs is exactly the same that we're going to use here within this tool, but Gamma is going to save you time. Now, it's going to cost you a little bit of money because you need the premium paid version. It's not expensive, but if you're someone that is doing presentations for business, or if you need a business account for this sort of stuff because you've got multiple people using it, this is the place where you're going to save yourself time and energy.
It's really powerful. And what I like about this is you're choosing the really important stuff for us as business owners and leaders. So Gamma.app for PowerPoints that you're creating, and put your own templates in there, etc. All right, what's number 7?
Oh, okay. Well, look, every business is using some sort of auto attendant to come to a meeting, right?
Yeah.
So you're running your meetings on Teams or Zoom, and you need to have an AI assistant coming into the meeting. The one that I use is Read.ai. Now, there's loads of others in the market. You've got Fireflies, you've got Otter AI, which is another brilliant tool, which I really, really like. But Otter AI and Read.ai are probably the best. Here's why I've chosen Read.ai over Otter AI. Read.ai, the premium version, has the ability for me to see your engagement levels as I'm in the meeting with you. Yeah. So not only does it give me the follow-up transcript and the video that it stores, and it then sends that to everyone who is in the meeting. By the way, note of caution on that, because if you are sending things to people that were meant to be in the meeting, but they didn't show up for the meeting and you suddenly slag them off, it's going to send that information to them as well. So be careful, okay? But with Read.ai, in a live setting, one-to-one business coaching or one-to-one with your team, you can see the engagement levels of the individuals. You can see the amount of time that they're speaking. You can see if I'm speaking too much, if I need to hold back in a conversation. So really, really powerful from a coaching tool.
Sales as well, because if you're speaking too much, you're not selling, are you?
Mm. You've got to be listening to what's going on and seeing the way that people react. It's measuring eye movements, it's looking at facial expressions, and it's giving that back to you in real time. Super powerful stuff. Now, let's just think about this from an AGI framework. Remember agentic AI, so not just doing task-based, but single one-time task. But let's think about this, how we bring it all together. If you're using Read AI and you're exporting that transcript, comes into your email using Zapier, you can zap that information into ChatGPT. Okay, so we've now got the ability to have that running into GPT. Now, if you're using Microsoft Outlook to manage your emails or even Google Mail, things like that, you could be using tools like Fixer.ai, and that's going to sit on your emails. It's going to sort your emails, put them into folders, and generate a written response to every email for you to approve. So if you're someone like me who gets thousands of emails, you get drowned in your email inbox, you should be using tools like Fixer to then have it there. But the power here is when it's all connected back through into ChatGPT, we've suddenly got all of that information. So you'd mentioned sales. Having the transcript of what's gone on in your sales meeting, your proposal meeting, having that going into your ChatGPT instance, we can start using that to present and prepare proposals. We can start having decks that are ready to be sent and producing those with Gamma. And by the way, with ChatGPT, we've now got the ability to almost connect any other app into ChatGPT. So this is hugely powerful stuff.
It certainly is. I mean, we've got to be paying attention to the agents, haven't we? The agentic AI. Okay, so we've got transcribers, note takers type thing for meetings coming in at number 7. What's number 8 on the list?
I've noticed that you have got a very, very nice Claude device sat on your top, and absolutely love Claude. So Claude essentially is your ability to have AI with you all the time. So when Read AI only comes into your meetings when you're running something, Claude is with you 24/7. And I think it's about £30 a month. You can essentially have it recording 24/7, everything that's going on, summarizing things. If you're one of those people that is in a meeting and you forget a task, it's going to give you all the reminders about your tasks. But more importantly, I think, is if you're going into conferences, you're in meetings and you want summaries of everything that's there, Claude is going to transform your work.
It is a game changer. It is a serious game changer. Of course, I'm wearing one here as well.
Claude, we love you. Say nice things about us after the podcast, please.
Yeah. Okay, so we got it's the ability to record wherever you are. That's basically what we've said. That so if you're not on a Zoom meeting where Read AI might be in there or a Microsoft Teams meeting, you've got this in the boardroom.
Let's just talk about this for a moment, okay? Because I know we're not really focusing today on ethics of AI or even some of the nuances that sit behind this with privacy. However, in a world where everything is being monitored, and you could be in a room now where suddenly you might have one person with Claude on them. You can't see it. It's not on the table. It might be hidden behind their lapel. But we have to assume that these days AI is involved in almost every conversation that's happening in the planet. It certainly will be in the future. And that presents a huge challenge, a challenge to governments, a challenge to businesses, a challenge to actually us as humans. How do we respond to that? And what happens with all of that data? If we have machines that can analyze all of this information, we've really got to get smart in the understanding of how we deal with e-privacy, and particularly then what we deal with the future. Just go back to my code word example that I use with my kids. What would happen if somehow your tool that you're wearing on your lapel recorded my code word? What happened if that got shared? Suddenly we could have video avatars creating automatic impressions of our voices talking to our children. They know the code word. So there's some really frightening stuff here. And we haven't asked that big question, is AI taking over the world? My response is always yes. And Elon, of course, with the production of the Tesla robot, I can't wait to have one of those in my house. I think he said it's about $65,000. I'll have 2 of them, please, one for work and one for my home, because I want everything taken care of, all the washing, the iron, everything else, you know. But that's going to revolutionize the day-to-day practical things that we need to get done. We've got to think about some of the concerns and the privacy elements of this, and this is where national governments really need to be putting their focus right now.
Yeah, look, you got me on it, on the safe word. Okay, so we've got Claude coming in at number 8. What's number 9 on the list?
The next one that I really, really like at the moment is another search provider. Most businesses don't know about this because it's one of those kind of out there tools that's there, but not necessarily having a huge user community, and it's Perplexity. Okay,
Yeah.
Perplexity is it's a multimodal search platform. Let me give you an example. So, as you know, I do a lot of work in Africa, and particularly in East Africa. And I went to Nairobi, Kenya, a couple of years ago, stayed in this amazing hotel, and I visited another hotel for a meeting. And I wanted to go back to that hotel just because it looks lovely. It had one of my most favorite flowers in the world. It's called Birds of Paradise, a beautiful looking flower. And I took a picture in the reception area of this bouquet of flowers, but I couldn't for the life of me remember the name of the hotel. Right. So what I did is, because Perplexity is multimodal and it's real time, I took that image and I uploaded it into Perplexity, and I said, Perplexity, I'm visiting a hotel in Nairobi. This is a picture of the reception. Which one is it? It then went through and trawled the internet for similar associated images. It analysed what was in the image. So it saw it had Birds of Paradise plants. It saw that the floor was made of granite. It saw the backdrop of the walls were an off shade of green. And based on that, within 15 seconds, it came back to me and said, Steve, it's one of these 3 hotels in Nairobi. That's the power of multimodal search. Now, here's the other thing. Google search, of course, is reliant on Google's bot going and crawling websites. Okay, ChatGPT and LLM and all of the others that exist within that space, they're reliant on LLM.txt files sitting on the back of a website in order for them to be able to crawl things. Remember, ChatGPT uses Bing's Search Console rather than Google's Search Console. It's a quick tip for businesses and marketing professionals. Make sure you've plugged your website into both Bing and Google, and make sure you've got an LLM.txt file on your website rather than just your standard XML sitemap and robots.txt file. If you don't know about any of those things, have a look at one of our other podcasts, because we'll go into that in a lot more detail. But essentially, the difference between Google and other LLMs and Perplexity is crawling in real time. It's taking inputs of news in real time. It's providing you citations of sources in real time. That's significantly powerful, because if a life event happens that is of global significance, Perplexity is the one that's going to give you the most accurate information.
Real time across multi-platforms, answering difficult questions that you need. All right, so we've got ChatGPT as the LLMs to start with, Google Gemini, Midjourney, V.io, Synthesia, Gamma.app, Read AI, Claude, Perplexity, and now we're coming up to number 10, guys. What's the number 10 on the top 10?
Well, from a business use perspective, I really think that we need to be thinking about how we can use business tools more efficiently. So we're talking from a business perspective. I think we've got to mention Howler AI or Pressmaster as 2 of the tools that sit within that category. So why Howler AI, right? Howler AI simply takes your press release content, it distributes it to the masses, and it locates the best person to receive that press release and publish it automatically. Okay, the days of having editors sitting writing copy in the Daily Telegraph or Daily Mail, those days are over. Okay, we're not paying those people anymore. They just don't exist. So what we've got to do is we've got to make it easy for our copy, our news, our story to be hitting the right people at the right time. Otherwise, all we're doing is creating more noise. And we all know that creating more noise isn't storytelling for brand, and it has very little effect on the customer experience. So remember, the CMO is the ambassador of the brand. They're not just the storyteller. It's all about customer experience. So if we're talking about getting our message to our customers at the right time, we've got to be using those right tools. And Pressmaster and Howler.ai, they're going to get your copy into the right hands of the right people. Also, with Pressmaster, you have the ability then to look at social context as well, plugging in other functionality too. So utilize those in that stack. That's going to just amplify your brand to the next level.
I mean, those top 10 really put business owners and leaders on the front foot, actually. What's the mindset that the listeners have got to adopt now they've heard these top 10, to capitalize on the opportunity that's ahead?
The mindset you've got to have is one of measuring and testing. That's the first thing to say.
That's what you said right at the start, the culture of measuring and testing.
Culture of measuring and testing, but most importantly, you've got to understand the context that AI is here to stay. It is not just about saving you some time in the tasks that you're doing. It's not just your assistant. Agentic AI or AGI is making different automations operate seamlessly together, so that when we're putting something and doing a task, we're multiplying the effectiveness of that AI to simplify things across the business. And this is where I'm so passionate about talking about this at the moment. We've got to get AI embedded with the infrastructure of our business, not just touching the surface of it, which I think many of our listeners will be doing. The only way to do that is to combine these things together. How do you combine it? That's where tools like Zapier come in. So we're zapping different things, moving things from an email into ChatGPT. This is where the idea of creating an open AI interface that talks to different other AIs, agents essentially, is where the power of this technology is really going to shift. I had a customer that I was working with the other week, and we built them a solution where they had a marketing director persona, a sales director persona, ops director, finance director, and then a CEO persona. And the one that they used was to go into the CEO persona, and they would assign a complex task or a decision that needed to be made into the CEO persona. The CEO persona would then generate an automated output of what was required for the business outcome. And then these other agent directors would then be thinking with the basis that we built on to come up, how does this look like from a marketing perspective? How does this come up from a finance perspective? Feeding all of this information back in real time, back to the CEO persona, running it through multiple different things, researching the market, looking at competitors, working out the entire thing within this system. And the CEO persona, within a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, will come back with the most well thought through resolution of what the outcome should be for that business. And that's powerful.
Let's just assume all the listeners want exactly that, what you just spoke, that vision that you just spoke. Where do they start?
Right, it's starting with adoption. You've got to adopt those tools into your business. And many of these tools come with some sort of monthly subscription. And what I would say is don't try and take these 10 tools and implement them all at once. Just won't work, okay? Go through a culture of embedding one tool at a time based on the problems that you're seeing. Not every business is the same, but there are things that every business does. So we're all in meetings, right? So getting a meeting assistant, if you haven't got one of those, go and get ReadAI or Otter AI. Get that embedded in your system, learn it, understand it, use it, test it, okay? Then train your team on how to use it so that they have an understanding of it. Most of our listeners will be using some sort of LLM. ChatGPT, go get yourself the paid version, okay? The free one is no good for doing the things that we're talking about here today, so you need to be using the paid version. Once you've got the paid version running, work out what your prompts are. Develop your prompt playbook, okay? We haven't talked much about prompting, but remember that whatever you put into an LLM determines what you get out of the LLM. So if you're not using a prompt structure where you're defining the role and the character of the AI, so act as a leading sales and marketing director with 20 years experience in selling cars to whatever market, you've got to give it a framework to work in so that it's able to do that. So if we've got that embedded, then we can begin to start getting the automation between these different AI tools. And it's the automation here through AGI that's the thing that's going to start making the real difference.
There's some incredible things that you shared in here today. I mean, which one of these or anything that you've said today has had the biggest impact on you personally?
Well, look, I am obviously in broadcasting, publishing, speaking, marketing. I even got a wedding car business now. I do loads of different things, and I love living in business, and I love resourcing business owners and leaders to grow using technology. For me, the biggest thing has been my adoption of GBT. I was hugely skeptical 3 years ago when GBT was hitting the market. I was like, I'm going to test it. I'm going to review it. And you know what? As I began to test it, I realized that it needed a prompt framework. And once I nailed down that prompt framework, I call it create, okay? Character, request, examples, adjustments, type of output, and extras. Once I'd nailed that prompt formula down, my use of what I started getting out of this tool was phenomenal. So now I'm able to produce content that has the right tone of voice. I'm no longer just putting a prompt and allowing that text to come back and accepting it, but I'm working my brain. So I'm buying myself time to be more creative. I'm buying myself time to lead. I'm being more strategic about the cultural decisions I make within my businesses. I'm getting all of this information back by properly entrenching agents within my businesses. So that's really powerful. And dealing with things like email. Okay, everyone hates email, but I think we're going to get to the point where my email, my agent, I should say, that sits on my email, interacts with your agents that sits on your email. And our agents are going back and forth to each other without us actually having any knowledge of that happening. Remember, the customer experience is the most important thing, in my opinion, in business. If the customer experience isn't maintained, then we're gone. And the problem here is that in business, most people think about customer experience as the responsibility of operations. Oh, well, it's a bit of operations and sales and finance or whatever. Customer experience is the most important thing in your business because the customer doesn't see it as silos. The customer sees the way they interact with you as one entity. AI can help shape that, embrace that. And in my opinion, it's the role of the CMO to champion it.